The purpose of this video is to help try to tie together the problems that you saw on Monday's exam, which were in a different format than what we did in class, but tie these problems together with the material that we did do in class, that was covered in the videos, and that was covered on the homework assignments, in hopes that you can use all of what we've done together to help solve these problems. Now again, remember, the exam that we saw before had about 5 items per problem that we need to determine. Does each one belong in the subtotal that we're asked for here? And what you'll see on the exam retake is more like 3 items of these, so that we're not putting so much weight onto each problem. If we make one mistake, it's not so much more likely to get the problem wrong. Okay, so the information that we're given here, now we know sales revenue, we know where that goes on the income statement, but we're trying to picture that full income statement. Let's take a look at one of our homework problems. This is homework 6. Let's open up question 1. Nope, let's open up question 2, where we were asked to create an entire income statement. Now we know that there's more to an income statement than this. This was our starting point. So we know that our sales revenue is up here. What we're looking for in this problem is this number here, the total other revenues and gains. And in this problem, we see what's included in other revenues and gains. We have dividend revenue, so we know that going back to our example here, sales revenue not included in other revenues and gains because it's the first item on that income statement. It's not in that other section. Dividend revenue is included. So we definitely want to have this dividend revenue of $512. But is that it? So we see in this homework problem, there's also interest revenue. But we need to keep in mind that this is related to one company. Dividend and interest revenue are not the only items that can affect other revenues. We don't see interest revenue here in this problem, so we need to think about what else can go in this other revenues and gains section. So we can look through other homework problems and other class problems. In chapter 4_2 class examples, we did the problem with Balenciaga, where we were given a lot of account information and asked to prepare the income statement. So we have this section of other revenues and gains. We see rent revenue, dividend revenue, gain on sale of investments. Okay, well, this gain on sale of equipment is accounted for the same way as gain on sale of investments. How do I know that? And what else could there be? Well, remember in the video where we have the multi-step income statement, this video walks through all the items that can be there. This video, called Unusual and Infrequent Items Explained, goes through exactly all of the items that are in there. So when you're going through these videos, you should be taking the notes down and going through what are all the items in each section. So once you've gone through that, unrealized gain on available for sale debt securities. Now, we didn't see that in the material covering the other revenues and gains. That's because that's not included. We saw that in a different section. If we go back to the videos, when we look at the video for comprehensive income, other comprehensive income, and accumulated other comprehensive income, this is where we're going through unrealized holding gains and losses. And we see that the only item that we know that affects comprehensive income and other comprehensive income is these unrealized holding gains and losses. So therefore, we put that together and say, nope, this is not included in other revenues and gains. And how about income attributable to the non-controlling interest? Well, where did we learn about the income attributable to non-controlling interest? That's here in this non-controlling interest video. Welcome back to where we're walking through where would we see income attributable to non-controlling interest. We see it here. Below the net income, we see subtract out net income attributable to non-controlling interests. Where have we seen that in class? Let's see, chapter 4_2, we did not get to that. Second example, Boston Market, we did not get to that. We had additional other revenues and gains that we went through, other expenses and losses. Chapter 4_3. That was our class example where we did talk about net income attributable to non-controlling interest. In our first example, we were given a bunch of information and asked to calculate net income attributable to non-controlling interest. Actually, the other question, what is attributable to the common stockholders? And so we saw this is how we account for the income attributable to non-controlling interests. So we know that that is not included in the other revenues and gains section. Here, what that I've highlighted, this is the non-operating section, which includes both other revenues and gains and other expenses and losses. So this is not included. Okay, so what would be included in the other revenues and gains? Dividend revenue of $512 plus the gain on sale of equipment of $440. So if you're thinking, I want to have a comprehensive set of notes that shows everything, where every single account that we've covered, where would that show up on the income statement? And when we get to the next chapter, to chapter 5, where would each account show up on the balance sheet? The best way to get your comprehensive set of notes is by watching these videos and taking notes as you go along with these videos. If we go back and look at the balance sheet, there's a video on the balance sheet. Now I know it's 40 minutes. I know it's a lot of information, but remember there's so much to intermediate accounting. No matter who you take this class with, no matter where you take this class, it goes through so much information. So this video walks you through the notes of how do we classify every single account that we need to know because it's in generally accepted accounting principles. So walk through these videos, create a really good set of notes so that no matter what account you're given, you will have seen it somewhere on a video and you will have it there in your notes. The more you practice, the more you run through these homework problems. So for example, for those questions that relate to the balance sheet, we're going to go into homework 7. And you'll see problems that are in slightly different formats than what we have on the exam. Not this one. This one is testing our classification. But this problem, we're given a whole bunch of accounts and balances. And instead of asking on the exam, I'm not asking you to prepare the entire statement. But if I'm asking you, what is total current assets? We know of all of those accounts, we can identify which ones go into that calculation and ignore anything that does not go into that calculation. So again, each one of these problems is not comprehensive of every single account, but those notes in the videos give you the comprehensive notes that you need to know. And then when we use those to solve the homework problems, we're practicing and getting familiar so that it's not just having a sheet of notes in front of us that doesn't mean anything. But hopefully each time we work a problem, we're getting more and more familiar with where things go on the balance sheet, where things go on the income statement. Now when it comes to chapter, so this example here, we have information for Apple's trial balance, calculate total current assets. We would know accounts receivable, current asset. Equity investments classified as trading. We know that when it's classified as trading, we did this in the video, we've probably walked through it in a class example. If it's classified as trading, that makes it a current asset. If it's classified as held to maturity, that puts it into the long-term investments section of the balance sheet. Trademarks, these are intangible assets. How do I know this? This goes back to this balance sheet video where I'm going through every single account throughout all of the, here's our long-term liabilities. If we want to see the intangible assets, go back a little bit more, and we see the intangible assets written out here. We practiced putting some of these in the homework. Maybe not every single example went on the homework, but as long as we have comprehensive notes, hopefully this is helping. So we know that accounts receivable is in the current asset section. Equity investments classified as trading is in the current asset section. And allowance for doubtful accounts is a contra asset that reduces our total current assets. So we're going to add up 3317, 1673, and then subtract the 614 to get our total current assets. With the statement of cash flows, we need to watch the video on the statement of cash flows. And we've also put together we had a homework on statement of cash flows as well, where we've practiced this material. So statement of cash flows we have here, where I'm going through every single thing, and I know it's so much information. I get it, and I'm here to encourage you, do the best that you can, because the CPA exam has a lot more than what we're simply covering here. I know it's a lot, but you can handle it. So we're going to go through these videos, write out every single thing. What goes into that statement of cash flows? When we're doing the operating section of the statement of cash flows, what do we need to account for here? Then when we go into the homework assignment, we won't be asked to put together an entire statement of cash flows, but what we will be asked to do is use some of the information that we had for when we prepared that statement of cash flows. Sorry, let me just pull up get through the balance sheet questions. Let's get through the statement of cash flows here. Or perhaps these are all balance sheet items. Let's go then to homework number 8, and let's look for these statement of cash flows. So here's one. We're given information like this on an exam, but instead of preparing the whole statement, we're just simply asked to do one thing, such as find the cash provided by or used in investing activities. So we're not asking for every single box. We need to be able to go through these items and say, where is that on the statement of cash flows? Sale of land and building, that is on the investing section. Is it a cash receipt or a cash outflow? We're crossing out information that's not used, such as the purchase of treasury stock. We're including things that are used, like the purchase of land. We're crossing out things like payment of cash dividend. Ignore that. Include the purchase of equipment. Ignore the issuance of stock. Ignore the retirement of bonds. So I hope that you found this video helpful. I have office hours Thursday for 3 hours. Feel free to pop in anytime. You can also email me if you have any questions, but I hope that this is helpful in kind of seeing that bridge between the exam format and what we did in class, in the videos, and on the homeworks.